Welcome to Stir It Up and TTJ's collaborative annual product review podcast. We do this at least twice a year when Apple decides they want to release new products, and of course, we're both tech geeks, so we usually go out and buy most of it. So, I like to welcome my buddy Matt Ballbridge.
TTJ Tech.
Absolutely. There we go. Great to be here. Always good to collab on this. And boy, have we got a lot to talk about today. My goodness.
Right. Let's start with the Apple Intelligence thing that the so-called experts or analysts, critics, whatever you want to call them today or tomorrow, says that Apple's behind and it's disappointing and everybody lost and it's delaying some products. What's your take on all that riffraff?
Right to the elephant in the room. Well,
Right.
you know, it's I suppose it's to be expected that people would be disappointed that some of these things have been a bit delayed, and certainly we can understand that. But at the end of the day, I truly respect Apple. I I admire what they've done. Because they're essentially saying in so many words, this is not the best that it can possibly be yet. So we're going to delay it until it is. We're not going to put something in the hands of customers before it's ready to do so. And if they did decide to rush it out, then people would complain that it was buggy or, those kinds of things. I mean, and rightfully so to some degree, I suppose you could say, because, they would want to let Apple know this isn't working or that isn't working. But this, hopefully avoids most of that. The things they're looking at releasing, based on their announcements, are pretty complex kinds of things, for Siri to be able to do. And I don't find myself um, missing them without having them. I'm sure I'll use them once they come, but they're pretty complex things. So I would just as soon Apple get it right before they release it. That's how I feel about it.
And that's the way they always do it. That's why I don't understand why people's jumping down their throat. Okay, yes, they give a timeline. Things happen, stuff gets pushed back, and you gotta adjust. But if anybody has been following Apple for any amount of time, whether it's been 1 year, 2 years, even 5 years, they know that Apple gets it right before they release it, not just throws it out to put the public and has to be criticized and shot down later on down the line. That's not how they work.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. When they release something, they're not always the first to do it, but they are almost always the best at it when they do it. And
Exactly.
yeah,
I mean,
yep,
because people have been complaining for years that Siri is supposedly not as good as Alexa or Google Home. But when Siri did get the upgrades that everybody was begging for, little did they know Apple was working on it anyways and wanted to make sure that they were the last and the best, like you said, at it. So to me, it's
right,
just people
right.
that just wants to have their words put out there, their name be attached to an article. So when Apple does release it and they're all eating crow, then let's see what they have to say then.
Yeah, 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 because that's the thing. Any of these times that people have criticized Siri for being behind, first of all, I don't have any problems with Siri. I mean, I use her every day. Her, him, whatever. Mine's a her. Every day, and I rarely have any issues ever. And certainly, I don't have any more issues than I would have with any of those other assistants. I've used those too, and they get things wrong occasionally. They're not perfect either. They all have their strengths. But on any time, if I'm going to choose one, it's going to be Siri. That's just how it is.
Exactly. And I've tested the other ones. I mean, I have Gemini. I have the actual Google Assistant and Samsung phones. They have this thing called Jetsby or whatever. Anyways, but like you said, Google or Siri, mine is actually a him, but my Siri, he does just what I need him to do, and when he can't, he asks me if he can use ChatGPT to help out, and I say go ahead, because that's how it's supposed to be. So people are
Right.
forgetting about that ChatGPT has that integration. So
That's right. That's right. So if Siri can't do it, you're either going to get a Chat GPT answer or you're going to get a web result, which I personally see nothing wrong with even web results because the whole point is the device is capable of accessing the web. So why wouldn't you use that resource when and if you need to?
And on top of that, Google or Apple pays a pretty penny, or not Apple, but Google pays Apple a pretty penny for Google to be their search engine. So why not use it?
Yes, yes,
So,
exactly.
all right, now that we got that out the way, let's start with the MacBook Air. My daughter has it, nice and sleek, no real big design change. I played with the M2 before, and it was so it was Apple, it was good, but this one has a little bit different feel to it. It's a little smoother. They have different colors. It's Apple, it's silicone, so it's the best in the business. I'm probably being biased, but hey, I use Apple products, and I really can't. Well, you really can't say I'm being biased because, as you know, and as our listeners, most of them know, I work with a PC at work on a daily basis, so I can actually say, that this
Right.
MacBook Air is faster than my high-end work PC.
Well, and I would say this, and maybe this sounds weird to people, but let's try it out anyhow. I probably am biased, but it's a bias that is well earned because Apple is the best at what they do. It's not something that was arbitrary. It's after you use these products a long time, even when you use them a short time, you realize it very quickly that there's no comparison. And so I'm sure that MacBook Air is no exception. Now, that's the M4 processor now, right?
Correct, and they also now the base starting point with the memory is 16, not 8. So,
Yes, yes, I remember seeing that. Yep,
yep.
yep.
So it flies. I mean, for any average consumer, if all you're doing is email, web searching, some photos, some texting, even a little bit of audio editing, it'll handle it. You're doing just fine. So I mean that. I mean, I'm not telling you what to do with your pennies, but if you're stretched a little and you say I want a Mac, but I don't have all that money, well, guess what? This one is only $9.99. So, and I mean, if it's really that much of an issue, and I'm not digging in nobody's pocket, not calling anybody out, but Amazon has sales on the M2s for $7.99, and that's a steal. That's
Oh yeah,
that's cheaper than some
yeah.
PCs.
And,
So
and that's still a fantastic processor. I mean, even the M1, our iMac that our family has is still an M1 iMac, and that does not even feel like it's a day older than right out of the box. I mean, it runs like new.
exactly. All right, the next one I'm gonna go to, we're coming to you because if people know you probably switch devices at least once a year, depending on what it is or what is announced, or we're not even going to talk about your TV subscriptions. That's a whole nother podcast. But let's talk about you sold um your iPad Pro 12.9. That was M2, right?
Yes, it was.
So that was M2 to I don't want to say upgrade, but to get the iPad 11 that does not have Apple Intelligence on it, but can handle Final Cut Pro. Tell us a little bit about that. I know you've only had it for a couple of days, so.
Yeah, this was interesting, and it always, and to let everybody know, I still have an iPad Pro M4. It's the 11 inch, so I do have that device. But I've shared before this basic quote unquote iPad that is just the name iPad. Some people call it the budget machine. It is. I've always had a very soft spot for it because it was the original. It's the most direct descendant of the original iPad, and then it's also the one that Cliff, you and I both got in 2018 as the sixth generation. So
Right, it's essentially the iPad they kicked off our as we called it
it
back
is
then,
right,
replacing your iPad with your computer, or replacing your computer with an iPad. So when we
right,
since have
right,
changed that to
right.
what do we call it now? It's too late. All
iPad for
pad for
all
all
computing.
computing. So,
Yes,
and
yes,
that's our crown jewel
right.
course. That is free 99. You can go to either one of our websites to get information about that, or contact us directly.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
give our information at the end. But go ahead with the rest of the
right.
story.
Yeah, so I've always had a special place for whatever iPad that is each time. But when I saw that they were going to release it, and then saw that they did indeed release it with the A16 processor, not the A17 Pro, meaning no Apple Intelligence, that was known right away. You know, I thought to myself, okay, I gotta weigh this out. I gotta decide how important it is for me to have the Apple Intelligence features on every single device. And the reality of it is the Apple Intelligence features that have already been released and the ones that eventually will be released, they are awesome. They're excellent. Praise God. I mean, they're a blessing of God. They're great features. but it's not like I absolutely must have them on every device. If I didn't have any device with them, that'd be singing a different tune probably. But they're very nice features to have, but they're the kinds of things that you can decide on a case by case basis. And what I liked about this iPad, what pushed me towards this iPad was several things. Um, so for one thing, I like the size of the 11-inch display. I have, had both an iPad now with the 11-inch and with what Apple now calls 13-inch. It was 12.9 back in that day. But, and as much as I like the extra screen real estate of the 13, I like the 11. It just, to me, feels like the perfect size. So that was one thing. The second thing that I liked about this what they're calling iPad A16, or some people call it iPad 11, whatever. Second thing I liked about it was the price point. Praise God, I'm blessed. I could get a more expensive iPad, but the price point is really good. I think it's great for families. I think it's great for small businesses, for teachers, for students. And I thought I would actually be very, very happy with this iPad because it still has everything that, it's got the stereo speakers. It's got the landscape camera with center stage. It's got, Wi-Fi and cellular, and it's, still a very, very fast processor, as evidenced by the fact that it does indeed handle Final Cut Pro, which I did not know till today. I found that article on Mac Rumors. I did not even try to download Final Cut Pro because I just assumed that it wouldn't work, and I was okay with that because I have it on my iPad Pro, my M4. I thought I don't need it on both devices. I'm not, and I just assumed it wasn't going to work with the A16, and then I read the article, and so of course I went and downloaded it right away. For people that can see, and even for me not seeing, I like the fact that they offer this in, a number of very bright, fun colors. It's kind of the fun, family iPad and everything. And then the other thing that I really, really like, and I've got to really give props to this and just can't stress it enough. And you all know I really like the Magic Keyboard with the iPad M4. I mean, it's an excellent keyboard. But I've always shared that it kind of, in my opinion, and
Even though you
everybody's
got to take a second mortgage out to buy it, right?
and everybody's different, but I always say, well, I want a second case then, so I can take the keyboard off when I'm not using it. The iPad A16 uses what they call a Magic Keyboard Folio. It's a different model. It's designed specifically for the 10th and 11th generation iPad, and it's a little bit less expensive. It's much more versatile. So it's a two-piece design. So it is like the Logitech Combo Touch that Trainer Cliff has talked about, because it has a back like cover or case that that protects the back of the iPad, and that has a kickstand, so you can adjust the angle of the iPad. And then if you want to use the keyboard or you want to protect the screen, you put that top part on it, and it uses the smart connector, so there's still no Bluetooth pairing or anything. It's got a trackpad. It's got your 14 key function row. It's got all of these things, and it's just so versatile that you really don't have to ever get a second case or use a second case. Now, I'll admit I did get a second case because they have their smart folios without the keyboard. They have them color matched to the iPad. So I got myself a yellow iPad, and then the case is called Lemonade. They have watermelon if you get a pink one, or blue sky if you get a blue. So I wanted to be able to. But the idea is you really don't need a second case because this thing is so versatile. You can take the top part off, you can flip it around. There's all different ways of putting it, and then you can use the iPad with the kickstand, and so it's extremely versatile. And I'll tell you what, it's still extremely fast. It is, M4 to A16, you hold them side by side. I'm sure you could tell the difference. I'm sure that, you could count the number of seconds it takes to do a task, and, one might take 4 seconds and one might take, 9 or 10, hypothetically. But when you're using that iPad, you don't notice that. It doesn't stutter. It's not slow to respond. It is lightning fast, even with the A16. And I've done some audio editing on it already, and taking it out in the wild, used it on cellular, and I am thoroughly happy with it.
So essentially, what you're saying is, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, Trainer Cliff was right. With the combo touch. No, but in all seriousness, everybody, that's why we have choices. Just personal
Right.
preference. I mean, I wasn't a fan of the Magic Keyboard, the one what was it, 350, 349.99, and that's my choice. But did it have a smooth typing experience? Of course it did. It was Apple. The couple of reasons why I didn't like it was one was the price tag, and the other one was the reason you just talked about a few minutes ago, and that's having to have a second case just in case you wanted to take it out. That's why I went with the Combo Touch line with Logitech at the time because it did do exactly what you just described with the what's it called, Magic Folio. Um,
Magic Keyboard Folio. Yep.
Magic
Yeah.
Keyboard Folio case. So it's good to have choices, and that's a good thing because it's not one size fits all, or you have to have this case, or you have to have blue. I mean, I remember when iPads only came in two colors, silver and black.
Right.
So I mean,
Right.
now we have all these different choices. Catering to the consumer and letting them get what makes them happy. So the next product I want to move on to is one that I have. And I couldn't wait for this because the last time that one was released was 2019, and that's the Power Beats Pro second generation. Now, these these earbuds back in 2019 were great for listening to music, were great on battery life, but I didn't like them for call quality. Well, Apple must have heard me because they improved it. They took 5 years for a reason. Oh my goodness, these things are so. They have spatial audio. They have they have the ANC active noise cancellation. Some people don't like them because of the size of the case, but the reason the case is that size is because they have a built-in hook that goes around your ear. So I guess they're geared towards people who are like to do workouts or run or whatever the case may be. I like them because they're comfortable. I forget that I'm wearing them, and the first generation only lasted 8 hours. These ones last 10, and that's including listening to media and talking. So I mean, it's a great device. You have hey, you can do the Siri command, or you can set your button up to do different things. Switch between active noise cancellation, what's the one, spatial audio, and you can also have it do the Siri command, or you can have one do one thing, one ear do one ear, and one do the other. But it's a great, like I said, it's not for everybody. Some people like the AirPod design where you just put it in your ear and it sticks, and those are great ones. I still have my fourth generation ones, but I use my Power Beats Pro second generation more because they last longer. And I essentially only use the fourth generation when that one runs out, which is almost never because I only work an 8 hour day, and maybe on the bus ride home or whatever the case may be. But they are the Power Beats Pro. If you like long battery life and maybe you are a runner, a cycler, somebody who goes to the gym a lot, these is another headset that will do you. I've heard that the AirPods Pro, which have the gel tips, do stay in your ears pretty good when you're working out, but these ones I can guarantee you are not coming off. Have you read any reviews about these ones?
I've not heard a whole lot about them other than, just the basics, but I mean, I think they sound like a very good pair for somebody, especially who does do, uh, the workouts and so on. And actually, the AirPods 4 are relatively new also because they were released, what, in the fall, right? And, do you have the AirPods 4 with the active noise cancellation?
I do, I do. Um,
Okay. So how
and
does that,
it
with,
compared to the pros, I mean, it's not the pros, of course, but they're still pretty good. They have pretty good sound, and their battery they last a slightly bit longer than the pros do. I think the pros are 4 hours, and the fourth generation are maybe five. I've never really tested it because when it gives me that first signal that it's about to die, I just put it in the case and grab the other one or grab my Power Beats Pro. I ain't gonna say I'm not a fan of them anymore, but they're not there's not I don't have to use them every day now like I did before. So it's they're they're a great headset for matter of fact, not a good, but they're a great headset for somebody who doesn't have any other ones. But because I have the Power Beats Pro, and maybe I should have waited, but at the same time I'm glad I got a chance to test the fourth generation. It's still a quality headset to have, especially with the active noise cancellation, and of course you can have the ambient sound, so if you can hear everything around you, and still hear your music and stuff like that. So it's a good set headset to have, but if you have the pros, there's no point.
Right. Right.
So is all that's left is the good old Mac Studio. Is that the only thing left?
Well, that and of course the iPhone 16e from the week before.
We're gonna talk about that. No, I'm joking. All right, I'm gonna do the Mac Studio because this is a machine that I probably don't even need. And the reason I say that is because my goodness, this thing is a powerhouse. It has, and this is not a misspeak or a misprint. This is the base model with the Ultra 3. 96 gigs of RAM. 96. I did not misspeak that.
Wow.
96 gigs of memory. Do you remember the other one? It's a 10 core processor, I think. 10 gigabit Ethernet port. And I'm forgetting something else, a GPU number or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But the bottom line is, I don't need it. Okay, I could have got a Mac Mini for under 1,000 and probably been okay. But I'd rather plan for the future and not have to buy a computer, which with Mac I never have to anyway, because my first Mac Mini I bought in 2011. I didn't replace it until 2015, and it was still running just fine. But
Right.
this is one of those machines that if I want to do something, I don't want to be wondering if it can. This machine, I know I can video edit. I know I can high power audio edit. I know I can connect 8 monitors if I need my daughter to look some stuff up for me in multiple different locations. I know that if I got 18 applications open all running at the same time, that I'm not going to have any issues. So, did I need it? No. Did I want it? Yes. So, I did sell my iPad Pro 11 M4, same one that Matt has, it's cellular data. And the reason I did that is for a couple reasons. One, to get some trading value knocked off, some trading value towards this Mac Studio. And two, because where I work at, one is provided for me. So I didn't need a personal one because the one that they give me, I can do anything I want with it because I'm testing, teaching, instructing, setting up lesson plans, and getting stuff ready for students to know these devices. So, but I mean, even with the one that I had before, the Mac Studio first generation that came out in 2022, I never kicked that fan on, and I tried. Trust me, I tried. I did so much with that Mac Studio, and the fan never came on. There's one, but it never came on. So apparently, I don't know what I'm doing, or it's just that good. I think I'll go with the latter. So, but our buddies over at Mac Rumors and 9 to 5 Mac still says the fastest computer ever. So, I mean, I don't know if that means even faster than the Pro, but I did read an article last summer before this one even came out that said some people like Paramount and Sony and people that do high-end video editing were getting the Studio fully loaded instead of the Pro because it was just as good.
Right, and I think that's the thing at this point. It's going to be interesting to see what, if anything, happens to the Pro. But I mean, this Mac Studio has every bit the power that does. I mean, maybe the number of ports and connectivity and so on, because it's a smaller machine. That might be different. But overall, I mean, this is a powerhouse. You can't,
Right, and it does
you
have
know,
four lightning, not lightning, but four USB Thunderbolt. Is it five? I think they're on. It has four in the back, two in the front, two USB A's just in case you have something that still takes it. I don't, and it has a card reader slot too. So, but
right.
I mean, it can do some stuff. It has some serious graphics, some serious GPU power. I have a terabyte of storage, which was the base model. I mean, I could have went up to 2 terabytes, but I have iCloud, MP Cloud, so I really don't need all that storage. I don't house nothing on my Mac anyway except apps, or maybe if I'm working on a audio editing project or doing some ringtones or something. But essentially, they eventually get moved to one of my cloud services. So, but it's a powerhouse. It really is. Like I said, it's pretty heavy too. I don't move it. If for those of you who don't know, a Mac Studio is just like the Mac Mini, and for both of those machines, you get no monitor, you get no keyboard, you get no mouse or trackpad. You just get the machine and you buy the peripherals, as they call it, to go with them. And to me, just hooking it up to an average HD TV, Sony, Samsung, Vizio, whatever, will do you just fine. And as a blind user, you don't even need a screen unless you may need a sighted person to look at something or click a mouse thing for you for one of the websites or programs that may not be accessible, which is very rare. But other than that, You don't need a screen. I already had a Logitech keyboard. I don't use a mouse and or a trackpad, so I mean, to me, that's getting more bang for your buck because you can put more power into it than worrying about a monitor and a mouse and a keyboard or a trackpad or whatever other extra things that people buy to go with their computers nowadays. Buying a hub to get extra ports. Well, I don't need that because I had six, not four, but I got six Thunderbolt ports. I think we're up to Thunderbolt 5 plus two USBs, Ethernet port. That's 10 gigabytes, which means it can handle up to 10 gigabyte speeds, which we probably will never ever reach in a long time, probably not in this lifetime. And of course, it has the HDMI port on the back, so you can connect it to a monitor. So again, I could probably do 20 things on this thing, all video, high graphics, and the fan will probably still never come on. So I mean, if you got the money to get it, then get it. If not, the Mac Mini can do just as good as a job for you because it has good power and it's built for the average consumer.
Yep, exactly, exactly.
So all right, this 16E. Let's talk about this a little bit because a lot of the blind community, especially, and not even just the blind community, let's call it the older generation, I guess. And I don't want to offend nobody, but a lot of those two groups didn't want the home button to go away, and it seems that that's the direction that Apple is going with this 16E, which, by the way, it does have Apple Intelligence on it, right?
Yes, it does. Yes, I think it uses the, oh boy, maybe the A17 Pro. I possibly even the A18, but I think it's the A17 Pro chip. But the thing with the home button is, as you and I know, this is no big deal. We've learned to navigate without it, and it's like anything else, muscle memory. You learn how to do this, and just spend a little time with it. This is uh, this is a revolution that's over. Let's face it, that home button is not coming back. There's no reason to hang on to it. It adds another component that can potentially, get dust and things like that in it if it's a physical home button. If it's a haptic one, I guess not so much, but still, it takes up space where you could have actual screen, which people who can see care about, and people who don't see should still care about, because you can do things with the extra screen real estate even if you can't see that. Look, even the iPads that don't have Face ID still have removed the home buttons. They put Touch ID in the top. The home button is a thing of the past, and the sooner we can wrap our minds around that, I think the better off we're going to be.
So the iPad that you just got, that has Touch ID in the power button now too?
Yes, it does.
Okay, I forgot to ask you about that. And you're right, because that half an inch or whatever it is very important, especially for those who like to do BSI, braille screen input, and who like direct touch typing and stuff of that nature. And I hate, either this is Apple Podcast, we're Apple people, we're Apple fanboys, whatever you want to call us, but Android did away with that home button a long time ago. So if they're gonna do it, why isn't everybody getting mad at them? Apple does it, and it's the end of the world.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I don't, I certainly not try to criticize anybody or whatever, but I really do think if you spend some time with it, if you just practice and you develop that muscle memory, it's not going to be a problem,
Right, because you and I, we've been using it for almost 10 years now. When the first one came out back in 2017, I guess it was.
iPhone 10, yep.
Yep. So I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's an adjustment, but like Matt said, muscle memory, repetition, practice, practice, practice. Some of us got the talent to adjust quickly. Some of us don't. I mean, before I left the store, I was adjusted to it. Because when I picked the phone up, I didn't want to put it down. The guy had to sell it to me because
Right.
it was such a nice looking. Back then, it was a smaller phone than what we have now, but it was still, as I called it, it was a sexy phone. So it was nice. I liked it. So, and I haven't
Oh
looked
yeah,
back
that was
since.
that was the complete redesign from
Yes, it
the
was.
iPhone 7 and 8, and yeah, Yep.
and it gave us so much more real estate. I couldn't imagine having a home button now. That would make me mad. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, for and for those who struggle, who need some additional training other than what we offer, as I'll give you the quick rundown. We do voiceover in and out for sighted and voice or blind users from September to just before Christmas. That's teaching you the gestures, teaching you voiceover and the iPhone iOS from the ground up. We start from scratch on how to turn it on, how to navigate the home screen, etc. They also now got built-in tutorials and practice modes that you can use now too, so it's a little easier to learn it on your own. We take a little break for Christmas. Normally, from January to mid February, we have the More with the Mac course as well as some small cafes in between. But this year, in the honor of John Panarese, one of our great friends and my mentor, and Tim Kilburn, who died last year, we decided to pass on it in honor and memory of them. That was the number one reason. The second reason was there was no big changes from 14 to 15. Now, probably with the mail app, I'll probably have to do a demonstration with the categories or in the messages app with a little bit of the RCS stuff. But other than that, everything else is the same. And then we get to what I like to call the crown jewel, the ace boon coon of the TTJ training season, and that's the iPad for all computing. That means that you can use your iPad 100% of the time to do absolutely everything. I've done it. Matt is still doing it, running his business from that iPad. He doesn't do the Mac unless we have a client who wants the training. Other than that, the Mac that he bought 2 years ago, actually it was just a year and some change ago, with the M1 on it, it pretty much collects dust. You probably turn it on to update it. That's about it.
And sometimes Kylie likes my daughter. She likes to go down and play on it because it's the nice big screen, and she finds a game that she wants to get on it that she's seen somewhere in school or something. So we'll go down together, and I'll be down there with her, but she's the one that's using it more, really.
Okay, but yeah, but it is possible, folks, to run your business or just your everyday life from the iPad. I've
Absolutely,
I've seen Matt do it for the last 7 years. I did it, and it can be done. Period. I mean, do you have any
absolutely.
questions? Go to our website. You got ttjtech.biz. That's Tango Tango Juliet Tango Echo Charlie House .biz, biz as in zebra, or you can go to stirredup.com. That's STURITUP.com. We have a free resources page. We both have links to our YouTube and podcast page, and you also have a calendar where you can schedule free consultations with us. If you need additional training, we will let you know that. But with the 16E and any device that we have, I have the Mac or the iPad. Well, my daughter has the iPad or the MacBook Air. I have the Mac Studio. Matt has the iPad 16A or 11th generation, Touch ID, and the home button, whatever they want to call it, iPad. We can give you training on any of those, and we always teach on the latest and greatest. So if you come to one of our sessions and you have 16 and your device doesn't do something, it's probably because you're not updated. And if you have a device that can't be updated, then we can talk to you about buying options and where the best deals are for that. I mean, TTJ and Stir Up, we do it all. He does all the home automation. I do the Mac. We run iOS and iPad OS together. Apple TV, Apple Watch, HomePod, you name it. If it's Apple, we're talking about it. Period. So, anything
Exactly,
anything
exactly.
else you got to add before we let the people go?
I think that's most of it. You mentioned something that I wasn't thinking about before that we didn't mention per se, but they also just released a new iPad Air. Remember, not just the MacBook Air, but they
Right,
released an
right.
iPad Air,
And it's an
and
M4
that's got
now.
M3.
Is it M3 or M4?
It's it's
I
it's
think it's an M.
M3
Are you
because
sure?
it went from M2 last May
Because
to M3.
I thought they jumped up to M4 this year because the iPad. I don't know. Let me look because I don't
Now
want
we're
to
gonna have
give.
to check. Yeah,
You're right. I don't want to give wrong information. Where'd my phone go?
yeah. I don't either. I want to make sure but um,
Open the Apple Store. Let's see here.
okay.
I don't want my bag. It's empty anyway. It's the iPad Air, right?
iPad Air, yes, yes.
Yep, you're right. It's an M3. So
Oh,
the M3 chip, but still a quality device.
now I just want you all to notice he said I was right, so we will write that down. We'll make
No,
sure
no,
we.
no, no. We're gonna make sure we cut that out of the recording. No, but yeah, no. It's an M3 iPad Air, and it's quality. My daughter had the M2. She didn't, she was using it, but not like she wanted to, and she likes the desktop feel of the MacBook Air. Plus, she never had one, so that was probably the main reason she got it. And I'm a dad. I like to spoil my kids. They earn it, they get it. They want it, they get it. So, and I think Matt's pretty much the same way. I mean, we got some good kids,
Yeah,
right? So, I mean,
exactly, exactly.
but yeah, the M3 iPad Air, that comes in multiple colors too, also, right?
It does. They're a little bit different than the A16 comes in pink, blue, yellow, and silver, and the iPad Air and Mini both come in um, purple, blue, starlight, and space gray. So a little bit different, but yes, they do. They have multiple colors, and they have a new Magic Keyboard for that iPad Air M3
They do,
also.
they do. It's a little lighter, they said.
Yes, yes.
And you brought it up, and since we talked about the, iPad, or not the iPad, but the AirPods fourth generation, I guess we got to talk about this iPad Mini. you just
Oh,
had to mention it.
yeah.
But it's not either one of our favorite devices. It's personal preference. But you know what? I see the need for it where the audience that it targets. And what I've heard, and I think you said this too, Matt, is it targets doctors and people who work in labs because it's an easy one that they can just put in their coat, their inside lab coat, or their doctor's jacket, or slide into a binder, and just it's a
Yes,
portable
yes.
device, so it makes it easy for them to walk around, take notes, check in patients, or whatever they need to do, right?
Also, apparently, airline pilots like it because it fits in their flight bag very, very nicely and has replaced, volumes of books that normally the pilots are required to have on board, and the maps and charts and everything, they can be all on that iPad.
Right. Yeah, and I have seen, because you remember when you used to go to the emergency room or maybe just a clinic visit, they would roll these big old carts in with a big old clunky PC and hard drive on it. Now they just come in with an iPad, says, ask you all the questions, have you sign on the iPad, and boom, you're done. So I see the need for it. It's not my favorite device, but who am I? you know?
Well,
So,
yeah, and I agree 100%. I mean, I've always, it like anything else that Apple makes, it's a solid device, and it is excellent, and it actually does run Apple Intelligence because it has the A17 Pro in it,
right. And it also doesn't have a home button, it has the Touch ID
and
and
it's got the Touch
the
ID
power
in
button.
the power. Right, right.
I thought that
Yep,
this one they were actually going to go with Face ID on the Mini, but maybe they're making that just to the Pro based on the fact that the one you just got and the Air does not have Face ID. So
that's
that's
right.
probably just
That's
going to be
right.
a Pro feature, right?
Looks that way for now, at least. Yeah, yeah,
I
looks
thought
that
they were
way.
at least going to go with Face ID in the Pro MacBook Pro, because there's a camera on there already anyway. But maybe I mean they got Touch ID, so I'm not an
Right.
engineer and I'm not on that team, so
Yeah, yeah.
so. All right. Well, we like to thank Matt from TTJTech.biz, and I'm Cliff from Stir It Up. Remember, stiritup.com, and Stir is spelled with the U, STURITUP.com, and TTJTech.biz. Go to either one of those websites. You can get in touch with us by email, by phone, or just drop by to say hi. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. God bless you.